We are recording. Excellent. Welcome everyone to today's webinar. Today is all about improving our processes and getting started for 2025. Daniel, my co-founder, is on. Celeste is also going to be on and probe me for some questions, mostly because I talk super fast and jump around the screen really fast, and I've got to get better at it. So what is today going to be about? Firms. There's different reports and things you can Google online, obviously. Spending 40 or 50% of admin time, non-billable work. This could be the actual admin team, but it can also be accountants. I talk to a lot of accounting firms where the accountant is sending out emails, chasing information from the clients, starting jobs, and that, again, ringing and chasing and emailing clients for data to start and end a financial year job. And we're improving those processes in my firm. I'm not going to say that we're perfect, but we're definitely improving our processes, utilizing Seamlss to get things up front before a job even starts. And I think that's super key. So if you're not sure who I am, Clayton Wood, co-founder of Seamlss. I also have my own award-winning accounting firm, Business Edge Advisors, here in Albury. I also own and run and operate an escape room. I don't actually work in the escape room that much, but I do get in there from time to time. It is good fun. So I love tech, I love AI, I love automation. I've been on the Facebook chats. If you're in the Facebook group, you're probably seeing it. There's a lot of TASA stress at the moment. I'm a small firm. I have the same restraints as everyone else, but I'm super happy that we're using Seamlss because it's going to remove a lot of these scope, consent, verification, and authority from the client, because we're using Seamlss at the beginning of the process and getting that authorization from the client in the beginning. And I get it. Like, so many people are frustrated. There's so many chats going on. What am I doing? I made 15 templates. I still can't figure it out. You know, there's people out there got admin teams where they're not sure. Has someone signed an engagement letter? Is my engagement letter up to date? Am I still chasing engagement letters? Like, engagement letters seem to be the bearer of bad news at the moment for TASA. But I feel like the quality management system is also a part of that. And obviously with Seamlss, you can put those processes in place to automate the engagement letter being signed and processed and done on time, and knowing that it's done, knowing that the work isn't starting until that part of the process is done, that someone's done it. I've talked to a lot of firms where they haven't had new engagement letters signed with their client for years. And I think my old business owner was like that too. The guy I bought it off, like, just had one engagement letter that was signed 10 years ago, and that was enough. And I'm like, that's not enough anymore. As a part of our process with Seamlss and Business Edge, all the clients are getting signed engagement letters up front, which is awesome, because you can trigger the process from Calendly, forms, sheets, the website, and email. There are so many ways that you can start the processes with your firm, and we'll go through that today. That's the whole point of today's webinar, is using these fetch forms, using smart links and the delivery of files from clients to improve that that part of the quality management system. So it's not just about sending an engagement letter. They obviously want to confirm scope, confirm you've got the information, that you've got authority, that you're taking reasonable care to keep their documents and information secure. So security is also a big part of it. Email is just not secure. Everybody knows that that's the least secure method. The whole reason we built Seamlss was to keep it secure, keep it off email. It's all multi-factor authentication to get into Seamlss for the clients in order to give you data. There's no opt out of that. All clients need a unique email and phone number. That is for security, but also for financial spousal partner abuse. It limits that because you know that the person that has to have accessed it had those two factors of authority and confirmation within your firm. And a lot of clients out there are just getting one link and someone else is filling it out. Clearly, that's not a part of your quality assurance. So therefore, tick those boxes and get that confirmation. So that is how Seamlss can support that. In today's demo, I really want to step through some basics. Be aware that we're going to book a tax return for a client tax return in today's demo. And from there, it's going to automate the data collection with the client, onboarding them, signing the engagement letter, collecting data, collecting answers, having that quality assurance process. And then I'll go through the process of completing a tax return automatically. And then finally, bulk processing, how you can use Zapier and Google Sheets and things like that to get the data to flow from a client into your SharePoint or FYI or things like that that you're using to integrate with Seamlss. If you haven't used Seamlss before, I'm happy to book a demo at the end of the session. You'll obviously get an email of some kind, and I'll go through that process in a demo or in another webinar where you can see how Seamlss fully works. Today is just about how can we improve those processes and set things up to get that automation, to get that confirmation, to tick off those engagement letters. And I'll step through some of those parts now. We'll jump into the demo and the webinar effectively. So I'll go as slow as I can. And for some users, you'll know some of this. For newbies, it'll be new. So this is the dashboard within Seamlss. I'm not really going to go too much into this. You can obviously see that we've got leads, we've got re-engagements, we can follow up the clients, we've got things to action. The biggest thing that everyone's stressing on at the moment is the engagement letters. So there is the fact that Seamlss, you can customize the engagement letters. You can have lots of templates and varying styles of templates. With that, you can also have links. So one of the key things that I wanted, as you can see on my screen, here is my editor, and here's what it looks like to the client, is the information sheet for the tax agents. So you can put a link in there that the client can click on, and they can start downloading that information sheet from the ATO. So now you're supposed to give this information sheet to the clients. You can easily make that available within your engagement letter within Seamlss. Obviously, your engagement letter could be short, could be long. We do have the Seamlss template available. If you want a copy, let me know. I'll hand it out. It is quite long, quite deep in what it's got in there. I did put in the chat last night on Facebook, your engagement letter is for your firm. There are certain things around software, team, locations, things like that that are specific to your business. You can't just grab a template and go, well, that'll work, I'm good. At some point, for the TASA requirements and TBD requirements, you've got to have where your team works, insourced, outsourced, the software is located, where your data is housed, what security measures you have in place. There's a whole bunch of things that you need to put in your engagement letter. The beauty of Seamlss is that you can create workflows that are automated that tick off different things. So if you had an end of financial year engagement letter as a part of your process, you can talk about the scope of work that you're going to prepare the tax return. Here are my fees. Here are my rates. This is how we work. This is how you will pay us. Stepping through their responsibilities, their resources and their rights. This is obviously a very short example, but I just wanted to show that you can edit all this as a part of the template, but you can also edit it on the way out as you send it to the client. So if you want to add a client and send it off, you can edit it on the fly. If you want to re-engage a client, you can send off a re-engagement in Seamlss and edit it on the fly. I've showed that in other webinars, but you can definitely either have them as a template that's automated, or you can edit it singularly for each client if you need to. So you could also have a tax return engagement letter. So you'll see this in action today, that this is just another example where the client might log in, do the tax return, listing out all the prices. You might have one price for a tax return, you might have many parts of the tax return price. You do you, that is the key. You do your prices. This is just an example for today, but again, talking about confidentiality, fees, services, termination. And at the end of the day, within my firm, when someone books in for a meeting, they get the Seamlss links, they fill in the forms, they sign the engagement letter. By the time they've met with me in this room, I'm having a conversation about their tax return, not what's your phone number, what's your email, what's your tax file number, none of this sort of stuff. I'm not doing ID checks. I'm busy, and my bill out rate is a hell of a lot more than the admin or what Seamlss costs me. I can automate a lot of these processes just using Seamlss. So let's start off on the first one. I'm going to slowly take you through it, but I've got one set up here. So if you went to my website for Business Edge, you'll be able to book a meeting with me. Part of that process, you go to Calendly. I realize not everyone uses Calendly. I use Calendly because I love it, because it gives me reminders and text message reminders to the clients, which has a link that means that they turn up and they get on time. So in this case for today, I'm going to book a meeting as a client. I'm going to do Bob Barker. Now, I've got to have a alias email so that it can all work. I'm going to put in my phone number. These are key items that you need in Seamlss. Now, you need a unique email and a unique phone number, as I talked about. So as a client, I've now booked my meeting and I'm ready to schedule to come in. That is one small part of the process. Now, as a firm owner, go in, set up your Zapier. You're probably sitting there thinking, oh God, how do I set up Zapier? I'm going to log out of my Zapier. This is Zapier. I know a lot of firms don't use it. They're scared of it. Can be overwhelming. If you have a Gmail account, you just click on Gmail and get started for free. It costs you nothing. It's not this big arduous thing for you to set up. Today, I'm just going to log in with my Gmail account just so you can see what it looks like. It's not difficult, but then I'm in. I think you can also use your Microsoft account. Honestly, I haven't tested it. I've just used Google. So here is my Zapier account. It looks overwhelming. I get it. For today, I'm just going to go to Zaps. I've already set up a bulk spreadsheet option here that I'm going to demonstrate in a minute. But for now, we're going to do the Calendly. So the client is booked in with Calendly. I want to set up a Zap. And this is a Zap that's going to go all the time for all clients whenever they book in. I'm going to create the Zap. I'm going to create a new Zap. Now, it's got an AI bot. You can type in the AI bots here if you want. But because we're going to set up our accounts and things, it might take a little bit longer. So what is the first trigger? The first trigger is going to be Calendly. So I'm going to click on Calendly. And you can see that it's pulled in. Now, I've already set up my Calendly account with my Business Edge. You basically just click on the button, connect it, and get it to Handshake, and it'll work. And I'll show you the Zapier one for Business Edge. I'm going to pick the event. So the client is going to be a invite created. So Calendly is the app, invite created. So that's a booking. Here's my app. I'm going to continue on. What is the event type? So leave it as user and then an event type. So you'll see that's pulling all the different events that I have in my calendar for people to book in. So I have tax planning, structured advice meetings. You can trigger different things with these meetings within Zapier. And so a structured advice meeting, you can have it connected to Stripe, and I get paid before they turn up. You could also put Stripe in here to get paid for the tax return before they turn up as a deposit. Winning, love that idea. But in this case, the client's booked in 60-minute tax return. Obviously with the 60-minute tax return, that's going to be a big one. So I've connected up my trigger. I'm going to test it. And what it's doing now is it's polling Calendly. It's going to see if there's any records. I'm going to find a new record. I think this is the one I did earlier. Nope, there it is, Bob Barker. That's the one I just did. So it's polled the last record from Calendly that I just booked in, and that's the one we're going to test it out with. Now, today, I'm going to continue on, and I want to connect to Seamlss. So in your case, you'll type in Seamlss, click on the button, and then you're going to get started. So we're going to choose an event. I'm going to add a client smart link to this event today. And here is my connection to Seamlss because I've already connected it. But if you search it out, you would just connect up your account. It will show this API key. And it can be a bit overwhelming. It's like, oh God, what is all this? How do I connect it up? It's not much. You can see the API keys are here. If you go into your Seamlss account, go to settings, go to integrations, scroll down, here's Zapier. View the keys, copy the keys, paste it into Zapier. That's it. Once you've pasted the keys, save it, and it's in Zapier, and then it's connected. And you can see I'm connected to my example advisory services. That's my Seamlss account. That was all there was to it. Copy keys, paste keys, done. It's not overly complicated. Continue on. So with Zapier, we need to tell it who, the link code. That will come from the smart link. We'll create that in a second. We're going to pull the information from the Calendly booking. So we need a first name and we need a last name. So you need to make sure you're asking these questions in the Calendly. We also need an email, and we also need their mobile phone number. So you need to make sure your Calendly is asking these questions so you can pull them into Zapier. Again, a lot of that stuff's by default. The only thing we're missing is the client smart link. If I go back into Seamlss, go to clients, go to client links. I've already built a smart link, but as an example, we'll go through today's session. If I clicked on add client, it will have a pop-up. just like this. Here is my smart link at the top here. I've given it a name and a title that the client will see. And this is the landing page that they would see if they were getting this. In this case, I want the client details because I want they might be a new client and I've got a new client meeting and that's what they've booked in for. So I'm going to get some ID check. I want their individual details and I'm going to get the tax return information and I'm going to sign my tax return engagement letter because they're going to agree to that. Save the smart link. Excellent. Done. So I've just created my client smart link. Click on here. Here is the Calendly smart link. I'm going to copy that link, come back to Zapier, and I'm going to paste it into here. Now, the only thing with the smart link is, if you're not aware, a link that you can put anywhere, a website, an SMS, an email, anything. It's just a link. People click on it. But this is the code that Zapier needs. The end of the link code that Zapier needs to fire off the request. Continue. So from this test, the client's booked in, Zapier's picked up their information, and it's going to send off the Seamlss request. And you're thinking, why would I do this? Because by the time they meet with me, all the data's in there. I'm going to test this step to make sure it works. So Seamlss will fire off my email. And you can see here, we've already got Bob Barker in. There it is. So here is my Bob Barker email request. Here's Bob. Seeing the Zap just come in. And from here, I can get started doing the online tax return. So from the client's perspective, they booked in with Calendly and they've got a link to start onboarding with Business Edge advisors, or in this case, example sites services. Don't be shy to ask some questions and pull me up, Daniel or Celeste, if I'm going too fast. In this case, we're still on the client screen. Let's log in securely. So there's no passwords, but it is two-factor authentication. I'm going to just key in my details just as a quick example so you can see it. Put in my date of birth. Put in some street addresses. State. Name address is normal. TFNs get validated in Seamlss. So you know you're getting valid data from the client. So do BSBs. That will pull through from our BSB list. It's a Bendigo Bank. We've got a match. Continue on. Now, I'd recommend the Stripe identity because we're doing a demonstration today. You can't get access to the camera for Stripe. So in this case, we're just going to do a manual verification. We're going to ask for some information from my account. So we might ask for their license. Oops. Sorry, too fast. We do have, guides on the screen that tell the client, we need to do verification because the tax office requires us. Has a little guide here that if the client clicks on the guide, it'll take them through the steps within Seamlss. So this is the client's guide. We're stepping them through what that looks like and how it works. It does have a little pop-up here of a button, tells them all the different things that we can use as tax agents to do the verification. I encourage you to do these as tests. I'm going to upload a notice assessment and my ID. Continue on. So we're still on the client screen. Now I'm getting the tax return information. So what I want you to picture this as is more like a work paper. So the client is giving you work paper question and answers. Yes, no, things like that. So do I have bank interest? No. Do I have dividends? Yes. So the client can upload some dividend information. Put that in there. Cool. Crypto. They all should say yes, but they'll say no. Managed funds. Maybe they've got some managed fund information, so they can put that in there as well. This is just an example, just so you can see what happens. Do I have deductions? Motor vehicles? Yes. 5,000 Ks. Kilometers to and from work. Like that's never happening. The rest of them, I'm just going to say no, no. But you get the idea. If they say yes, I've made it so it's conditional that they can give me more answers and more information. In this case, I'm just going to click through just so you get the idea. They can drop through. If they're on their phone, they can just take photos because all this is mobile friendly because let's face it, I think 80 or 90% of people that action the request from Seamlss as clients are on their mobile phone. Continue on. This is the confirmation page. So it's just sort of saying, have you got anything pending? Maybe you as a firm owner didn't tell them they had an entity. They can add an entity on the fly. But now we're going to sign it. So we're still the client. We're still going through the process. Here's my engagement letter. Here's all my pricing. scope of services. The client can read through this. They can disagree and stop going. And here's my Bob Barker signature. I'm going to complete that. Individual, signed, completed, done. So now I've got my, as a client, I've booked in, done my tax return. I can download some documents and do that sort of stuff. For now, I'm just going to log out of this session as the client, and I'm going to delete these documents because we want a fresh screen for later. So my Zap is working. I'm going to publish that. So now you can see I've automated that whole process from a tax return. Someone books in with me. Calendly will look up my calendar to find a spot so the client can see me. Zapier will send the client an onboarding request. It'll do an ID check. It will collect their documents. It'll get a work paper. It'll get a signed engagement letter. That all comes back to the firm. And from there, we have now got all the information from the client done for us. So I'll come back to that in a second. That's my Zapier done. If I go back to my Zaps, and it's now published. Here it is here, this one here. I probably should have renamed it. Calendly, booking, Zap, can spell, save. So that's Zapier. I'm tech savvy. I get it's probably a lot for some people, but I just wanted to do a quick step-by-step demonstration so you can see how it works and how it is in action. Now, if I go back to the firm view, if I go back to the dashboard, this is the admin's part. Admin team member would come in here, go to Bob Barker, do the ID checks, add them to the ATO portal, come into the forms. They could download the forms, but you'll actually find that once they've done this, if I come back into my, what do you call this place? SharePoint, because I've got SharePoint connected. Bob Barker's been created. His 25 document. Here's his form he's filled out, his engagement letter. All the different things that I've filled out and signed is now done. The documents and the forms that I filled out. So we talked about the information that he's uploaded, and we've also talked about the form that he filled out. I think it's, is it this one? Yeah, so here's my tax return form. So here's where he's answered yes or no. Any files that have been uploaded. Again, part of that quality management system, you've got the answers. They've given you some information. So that's Bob Barker. Finally, you know, hopefully you're aware that we have the XPM integration. So you've onboarded, done the ID check, and then we're going to push them to XPM. That will look up my Xero Practice Manager. I'm going to say this is a new client. Here's all the information. If it was a matching client, it will match and you can compare and say, no, it's new. This is new. So you can sync and match and push that to Xero, and that'll be done. And then you can start doing the tax return in Xero. So by the time I've met with them, the current person's booked in, I've got all the information, I've got a signed engagement letter, the admin's added into the portal, created the tax returns, they're sitting with me, I'm just finishing their tax return. Now that could be end of financial year, anything. Because it's a smart link, you can collect anything. It could be an ITR, it could be end of financial year. I'll come back to end of financial year in a second. The last one I wanted to demonstrate is something that you can do yourself. So on the Seamlss webpage, if you've ever been to the Seamlss webpage, this is what it looks like. There is a demo area here. If you hover over, you can click on interactive demo. So what does that mean? That means you can go and do this stuff. So here are examples of what you could do and test it for yourself if you want to see what it looks like for a client. So for today, what I wanted to show is that you can have a link on your website. On that website link, someone could do an online tax return. In a sense that if they don't want to book a meeting with you, you can just have the link. So it could be on your website, it could be a QR code on the front window on the street. You could send it out via an email, via an SMS. It's just a client smart link. So if you set the client smart link up, just like I did before, they can click on the button and get started. So in this case, I'm going to click on this button and get started. So Seamlss, Clayton, I've got an alias, so 42, that's the answer to everything. Put in my phone number. So you can see that I'm now on the Seamlss website. I'm on the Seamlss app website. It's giving me a landing page sort of thing. As the client, I can book in, not book in, I can process my tax return with example services, put in my name, and then continue on. So while they're doing this, you can ask to add entities and things as well if they wanted to add in their companies and things like that. So again, if you're doing end of financial statements, you can collect more information from the clients. In this case, I'm just doing a tax return. It's going to send me a link, and then I'm going to get started. So I click on the link, and then I can start entering in the information. Here's my Seamlss login, and I can get started. So you can see that demo 42 was what I keyed in, and from here, I can start doing the online tax return again. So that link generated the exact same outcome as Zapier from booking. So you can go from a booking to a link, or you can go from an online website to a link. Again, we're sending out the links to keep it all secure and make it easy for clients, but also less work for the firm. Is there any questions around that? Have I gone too fast? Is everyone happy with the process of what's happening? Hopefully the sound. Jack said the sound's not working. I'm assuming everyone can hear me because there's still people online. So Wayne's got his hand up. So you can unmute yourself, Wayne, if you're happy to talk to everyone and be recorded. So that was the idea with the online tax return, is the process to automate online tax return. So there's no interaction from the firm. It's just all automated. You might be thinking, oh, but I do financial statements and things like that. You can build out a link for those items. So I've got my end of financial year re-engagement link here. I've created a link. I'm going to edit it. So it's very similar to onboarding a client, except it's just a stationary sort of one link fits many. So client re-engagement form, welcome, complete your engagement form. Now, in this case, I've said I want the client to be able to enter their details. I want them to be able to enter in entities. I want them to be able to review their current entities. So if they're new or current. My recommendation is that you have a link for new clients and a link for current clients. So if they're in Seamlss, then you're not going to ask them for their IDs and stuff again. If they're already your client, you don't want to ask for ID. But if you're sending out a link to a new client, or you're putting it on your website or something like that, so if you've got a tax return and they're current clients, you want them to book in with the current client tax return so they don't ask for ID. Otherwise, you're going to be ID checking people every year, which, let's face it, by next year, TBD probably makes do that. So anyway, when you're setting this up, you can pick your recommendations. We recommend Stripe. We have biometrics turned on by default. With Stripe ID, you just have to check their TFN and bank details against the ATO, and that speeds up your DVS option for confirming with the ID checking. Now, I've selected my financial year information gathering form here. If I wanted to add more forms to my end of financial year, depending on my processing with my firm, I could do that as well. And I'm going to do an engagement letter. So I've got my end of financial year engagement letter template set up, and that's that. So I'll save that link, and that's done. Now, if you have a look at the link that I've got here, you see that it ends in 7CF. So we're going to automate this with Zapier. So I said we're going to do it in bulk. That's what I've created with this Zap. So I'm back in Zapier now, and you can see that I've got this bulk automation set up. So let's just quickly run through what that looks like. I've set it up with a Google Sheet. So here is my Google Sheet link and my Seamlss link. Over here, I've got a tab open with the Google Sheet already ready to fire. So a couple of things we need in a Google Sheet to automate any Zap. Now, again, Zapier allows you to pull data from any app. So if you've got some of these things set up in other apps, I'm guessing you could probably do it from CRMs and maybe even FYI and stuff. I'm not an FYI expert, but this is the example today that it will work. I've tested it. It does work. You do need a trigger. So you need a unique trigger so that when the Zap runs, it's only running at once. I'm running 2 different folders here, sheets, so that I can track them. And I've also got an email, alias email address. So with that, that's because you got to have unique emails. So I've just added plus. You might have noticed I was adding a plus there, but they're all the same. Seamlss Clayton at Gmail, they're all the same, but I need different emails and phone numbers to make this work, because the same as you would have with the clients. So I think from our perspective in my firm, we'll be using XPM and maybe the, what do you call that place? the ATO, you know, the ATO list that you download with all the tax returns overdue. Celeste will be able to manage that, to smush it together to work out who is she going to bulk send things to. So we can build this process out and send it in bulk. So here is my spreadsheet. There's not a whole lot to it, but it's going to trigger what I need for the client. I'll go back to Zapier. I'm going to just quickly show you what I've got set up here. So I've got my Google Sheets connected. It's going to update a spreadsheet or row, and it's connected to my Google Sheets account. It's configured by end of financial year sheet. That's the spreadsheet that we just had open, and the worksheet, and the status. So the status is the smart link, and that's this bit here should be the trigger. And then if I come into send a smart link, go back to the setup, I've got Seamlss. I'm going to send a smart link, and I'm connected to my Seamlss account. To configure it, I've got the smart link code. So you remember that 7CF that I mentioned earlier in the smart link? That's what I've got in there. It's pulling the first name, the last name, the email, and the phone number from the Google Sheet, and then it's going to fire it off. Now, to run this, because I've already published it, I've got it turned off at the minute, but this is a demo. Hopefully it all works. I'm going to turn it on, and it should just run that whole spreadsheet of people and fire them all off. With some luck, we'll sit in here the Gmail account, and because they're all aliases, it will just fire off a whole bunch of emails, and the Zap will run, and they'll all end up in here. So this is the idea, is that you'll be able to bulk send out tax returns, financial, things like that. Yes, Celeste?
And if I can add, like, this is really good when you've, you know, you've got your due date deadlines like your October and March. You might just have, you know, a few that you really need to get that bulk and say, hey, we need you to get started with this to finish off your return. You've got your due date. So you can customize it around those sorts of timings as well. And in the industry, there are so many different events that occur at different times throughout the year, annually, all the time. So think about how you can really leverage this particular feature that Clayton's going through today to save time in the admin space.
Awesome. So it's not processing it. You see in here, it's not in there. Cool. I know that. I probably know why, because I was running it earlier. I'm going to change the triggers and see if I can give them all new numbers. Done. So the Zap's still running. Last modified a minute ago. My suggestion here would be to copy, paste, then run. With some luck, this time it'll run. It's a demo, so of course it's not going to work. Tested this a couple of times earlier. Come on, you can do it. Run. You can do it. Oh, damn.
Did you need to?
There they go.
Oh, there you go.
Excellent. So there they all are. You can see this one's for Clayton. Here's the end of financial year. You can see this one is for the unicorn. There is a whole bunch of emails that have now been fired off from the Zap. Finally, my Zap worked. So these have all now been triggered. If I wanted to trigger more, I could copy, paste, and keep it running. To ensure that I don't do that, I would probably recommend just turning the Zap off and just running them in single file. I do know that some firms want to send off 1,000 at a time. I get it. That is a lot and a big automation. Some under 10, some over 1,000. Yeah, so lots of different things there. Daniel's answering all the questions. Thanks, Daniel. So that's all that. They're all separate. That is the bulk automation part of the process. So hopefully you can see connecting it to Google Sheets, to Zapier, can automate and pull things in. So if you're kind of thinking, how can I automate this process? I want you to think about it from an admin point of view. I think the biggest thing that I talk to different firms about is nothing changes if nothing changes. If you'll keep doing the same thing, you get the same outcome. With all these TASA changes coming in place, I really want you to go back to the team or yourself, whoever makes those decisions about what is our process and how can we improve it so that we can not just be compliant, but just be more efficient. Get some of that time back into the accountants and the the time and tasks to do the work that they should be doing, not chasing documents, not sending out requests, not sending out a Excel spreadsheet that someone fills out with data that doesn't make sense, not a web form that's really difficult to utilize and pull different data from. I want something that automates the process. So the data is going and flowing from Seamlss into your document management system. How can you do this with Seamlss? The fetch forms. So like I said, booking for a demo, we can talk about fetch forms. We come with a whole bunch of templates. If you have templates you want built, I'm happy to build them. Send them through to me. We'll get more templates built. Automated and connected processes. So going from a smart link to getting the client's details from your website, going from a booking to onboarding the client without you actually doing much there. You can also use different CRMs and proposal tools and things like that. So when they have done something in an app like HubSpot, that can pull a trigger into Zapier to send off a client smart link. That smart link will then onboard or add their entities and do those sorts of things that you need to do, where normally it would be an admin. The admin would have to go through and go, oh, what forms do I need to send? Oh, here's the email, here's this, here's that. You've just eliminated all that admin work. It's gone from the client initiating the task to completing the task. So the admin will, there's always going to be some admin, because let's face it, you've got to do your agent linking, which Seamlss will allow you to send reminders and show the client the process. You're going to get Seamlss engagement letters. You're going to have to verify and ID clients. If they're current clients, the admin won't have to do much at all. The data will come from the client, come into Seamlss, sync you to your document management system. You can push it into XPM to update it, and then you can start processing the work. And I think that is the whole point of automating it. Hopefully I haven't talked too fast. I do talk fast, I apologize. By all means, ask some questions. That's what we're here for today. If you're current clients, current firm, users of Seamlss, we do send out thousands of requests daily and weekly. How to create a smart link. I can do that again just quickly. So if you click on clients, click on client links just here in the middle, add link. Put in a name. In this case, I might be fringe benefits tax. FBT questionnaire. Questionnaire. I totally probably spelled that wrong. Thank you. Fill this in. I would recommend having prettier descriptions, because that's what it's going to look like. So what are we doing on this screen? If you tick this, if you have all this unticked, the client's not going to do anything from their individual information. You might just add a form. So with an FBT example, you could have the FBT form in there and the client will fill it out. They won't enter in their details. They won't do an ID check. They'll fill in the form. And in this case, they'll do an engagement letter. You can skip the engagement letter signing. So basically, with this smart link, all the client is doing is filling in a form, but you're automating it. So you can send it out via email. There is a whole blog post on FBT forms on the Seamlss website. If you tick these items to be on, the client will be required to key in their information. They'll be able to add new entities and or check the entities that they've got. So if they're already in Seamlss, we will require them to have a look and step through and make sure that their entities details are correct. ID checks will force the client to do an ID check. As I said, if you're already doing ID checks and they're already in Seamlss, you should dictate which link you're sending them, so you're not asking them twice, because I just think that's bad customer service. The engagement letter, select it, and it's done. And then you add that link, and then it's in Seamlss. I come back to client links down here. Is that the one I just added? Should give me, there it is. And I'm going to delete that because that's going to confuse me later. Pretty simple. Other questions? Don't be shy. Oh, there's the FBT link. The other quick question around, I wanted to touch on with the engagement letters. So you can re-engage clients, and I think this is like one of the underrated parts of Seamlss. Yes, you can onboard new clients. Everyone knows that. But I think the key part around Seamlss now is I want to re-engage the client. So if Clayton Wood was a current customer, that's what I've just made myself, is a current client. I got my details in there. I'm going to review and re-engage. Here's Clayton. Here's his information. Now, if this was an end of financial year and I'm like, Clayton's a big client, he's got lots of stuff, I will have separate forms to stack in there. So I would build out forms for bank details. Give me your bank statements. Give me your loan documents. If you know about the client, maybe they are a prime producer. So I might want the prime producer questionnaire. So keep adding questions in that you know the client needs to answer to help get you the information you need to complete the tax return. Everyone's talking about how do I do custom engagement letters for every single client. If a part of your process is to customize the engagement letter, customize it here. If the partner wants to edit the engagement letter, copy, paste, give it to the admin team, they can put it in here or update the terms and conditions. So within Seamlss, when I edit this template and that goes off to the client, that is for that client and that client only. I can save new templates, but I recommend you do that in the template area. So for example, if I send out the tax return one and I customize it, and this client's a bit of a pitter, maybe I'm going to put the price up. Maybe I want to charge him more because he just upsets me and the team. So you can update that on the fly. Maybe you don't want to give them all of the information. You might delete bits out. The beauty of Seamlss is you can customize the engagement letter as you send it out. I send that off, sends Clayton an email, clicks on a link, starts giving me all the documents and information, create his tax return. I've got a signed engagement letter, not tax return, financial statements. Admin team member gets it all back. It's in SharePoint or FYI. Job's ready, accountants get started. Again, accountants don't need to do all of this admin work. They can keep doing accounting work. Have we got any questions, Daniel, that I need to answer? You've got a lot going on there.
Yeah, Melinda, a little bit higher, asked a couple of questions.
Oh, yeah. So I think the key one with the collecting payments. So there's two ways to collect payments, I think, with Seamlss. Obviously, we'll have our own plans with that in the future, but there is a quick win that you can do right now within your firm, but similar to me. If you're using Calendly, you can connect up to Stripe and get paid when they book in. Now, the other thing you can do is you can create Stripe links. So if you use Stripe, it's not a super difficult platform. Log into Stripe, create a product, create an item, get a link. After they click on the link, they pay you, and then you can send them a client smart link after that, because it's one of the options in Stripe is you can send them to some other page. So they can pay you and then they can start using Seamlss to onboard and complete. I think what Melinda probably wants is to complete the Seamlss and then pay. Get paid first. Don't get all of the information and start processing before payment. So if you can get Stripe or paid, then go from there. And I think it comes back to that, what's that automation and process that you can put in place? There's a couple other questions. Anything else, Daniel? Can you ask?
I definitely agree with that piece you just said there, Clayton, about get paid first, get them to fill out the forms, because it means that they're going to fill out the forms because they've already paid for the service that they've just, agreed to engage you with. So, yeah. Yeah.
I think, Celeste, with that one, we have client structure meetings. So when someone books in for a client structure meeting, they pay us, I think it's $300, and then that comes off the price of their structure advice later. But they've paid to sit with me that half hour, an hour to go through their structure, and it's sort of like a prepaid deposit. And if they walk away and do nothing, then I don't really care. I've been paid for my time, and then I move on. But you've got to deposit in some way in order to get to the next part. Anything else, Daniel? Questions?
I think I missed one. Bradley asked, how would this work if you are already using an engagement software provider?
So if you're already using engagement tool, there's only a few out there, but I'm assuming if you're using something like Ignition, at the end, there's the next steps. People can click on the link and then get started. You can, like I said, turn off the engagement letter signing within Seamlss. So if they've signed the engagement letter somewhere else, they can still onboard and do everything you want with Seamlss. So wherever you are in Seamlss, it says engagement letter and you can edit it, but you can just turn it off. So that'll just skip it. So if they've signed somewhere else, you can just skip it. I think the part that I'm trying to push with this is that we're trying to collect the details and the information and assign engagement letter before we start any work. We're not going between different tools to try and create and send out engagement letters and then collect other tools and information. It's one app, one client experience for the client, that they're not jumping between a million different tools to do work with you. Hopefully that helps, Bradley. So yeah, it does work. Ravi's asked about how does it work with Ignition, and yes, we have practice Ignition in Seamlss, Business Edge. When they get to the next steps, there's a client smart link on the next steps page, and they click that, and then they can start onboarding with you. Do you have engagement letter templates? There is one engagement letter template. I did talk to Daniel today. I know that a lot of people really want their templates. I'm going to see if I can put another tab in here and pull together all the different templates and allow people to share templates. My thoughts are, go to your membership organization, whether it's IPA, CA, CPA, NCAA, whatever it is, download the engagement letter that you're utilizing, customize it yourself, copy and paste it into Seamlss. Like, at the end of the day, yes, we can make templates available, but you should be using your membership's engagement letter that you are a member of, that you are paying for, if they don't have a TFN. Can a client sign? Yes. So the engagement letter at the bottom will have the entities, the ABNs, and the client signature. If they don't have a TFN, I don't know how you're going to add them to the portal and then confirm who they are. But you can turn TFNs off. This does work for bookkeepers. There is a disable TFN button within Seamlss, and that's how bookkeepers can use Seamlss and not ask for TFNs. So you definitely don't need a TFN to engage someone, because bookkeepers don't use TFNs at all. Hopefully that answers your question. Can the client sign it? Yes, you don't have to put an entity in. The entity selection is just up to you. So if I add a client, I can add the client. I don't have to add an entity. I can just keep going, putting in their details in here, selecting their ID, and then add any forms I want, customize the engagement letter. Cool, that is done. And then I'm going to add the client, get the SMS, and continue on. There is a whole lot going on within Seamlss. So where to from here? Obviously, automation is powerful, but it still needs some love from clients, from the admin team, and from the accountants. But obviously with Seamlss, there are so many firms already automating a lot of these processes, just like me, by having buttons on your website that can collect the tax returns, by shooting off smart links from Calendly or other tools when you're collecting leads that allow you to process this stuff so much faster. Notification system leads. So when you get a notification in Seamlss, you should be able to have in here, go to settings, go to notifications, and then you can turn them on. So there is a lead notification. You might just need to turn that on and put your email in. Hopefully that helps, Tegan. If you want to sign it to a team member, you can put it in here. Going further from that, if you are a Zapier user, you can start triggering different things. So I believe, Daniel, most of these triggers are in Zapier. So you could even send an email to Zapier. I'm pretty sure you could have like Clayton at Zapier or something. There is some custom email in there. And when that hits, that can fire off another trigger to things like FYI and tasks, if you're using Monday and things like that. Is there a possible import sole trader class XPM? I think you can import sole traders. I don't see why not. I think Daniel could talk to that. What was the other one? Notification systems. Hopefully that helps with the leads. I'm thinking about doing a leads webinar in a couple of weeks just to help firms have a better process to triage their leads. I'd like to be able to take and add a note on a new lead, have it assigned to a user notified. Oh, I like it. That is definitely on my roadmap. Hopefully Daniel can add that down to Trello. So basically just asking that if you're in leads and I have a lead within my lead and I don't want to add a note, if people are asking, you can log an action. You want to assign it to a user within Seamlss and then fire off a notification to let them know. It's definitely one of the things that we're looking to do is to keep improving leads, just like anything else. You'll see more coming out soon in those areas. Can we ask queries once commence work initially? Yes. So you can query clients 100%. So the way you do it now, is one way. The way you do it tomorrow is completely different. Daniel, do you have that loaded up to show for InstaFetch?
Not yet.
Not
Not
yet.
yet.
Cool.
This will be the next webinar, definitely.
Okay, so right now you can request documents. So you go new request and you can do a quick fetch and you can load up and ask different questions. You can add the questions. You can also use one of your templates. Now, it's in developer environment for testing right now. The next the next thing is InstaFetch. So we've got quick fetch, you've got fetch forms, you can stack forms. So you've seen me send a request before. You can just send, so Clayton's not going to get this request. He's not going to check his information, but I can add various forms for him to fill out. That's kind of the way you can collect data post engagement, Melinda. What happens tomorrow, Steiny will push it out. Hopefully over the weekend, you'll be able to use InstaFetch. So what that looks like is a button up here that says InstaFetch. You click on the button, type in the client's name, copy and paste the questions and send it. The whole point of the InstaFetch is just to make it really easy to get those work paper style questions. The accountant's got 5 questions and they're the 5 questions you want to ask. So basically you're going to click on a button, type in the client's name, put in the 5 questions, copy and paste and send it. You don't need to build anything or do anything. The client will be able to text a response or upload a document. So there's a couple of different options there. Hopefully that makes sense, but InstaFetch, hopefully by the weekend. So come back Monday and you'll see the release of that, and that will allow you to collect documents quickly and easy from the client. The client will only have those questions to answer when they log in, and then they'll submit the answers back, and then you'll get a notification that says, Clayton's giving you the answers, finish the job. Hopefully that has answered everyone's questions. That has confused me because the note takers are taken over.
Yeah, no, we're all up to date on the questions.
Excellent. The last part of today, for anyone that isn't using Seamlss and you want to use Seamlss and you feel like you're missing out, you should totally scan that and do the onboarding. So with the onboarding, we'll set up your Seamlss account. I'll add some client smart links. I'll add your engagement letters. I'll get you fired up, and then we'll have some training sessions with you and the team one-on-one. And right now, for the next couple of days, we'll give you $500 off that. So if you want guided support onboarding, you can do that with Seamlss. If you want to do it yourself, you can get started for now for free on the website. What is the price? The price is $600 a year, and that includes 1,200 requests. 1,200 requests is quite a lot for most firms. If you go over that and you've got more clients, you can get 2,400 requests. So one request could be Clayton, his 5 entities, engagement letter, ID check. I've sent that off. That is one request. If I want, and I send another one off, that's another request. So one request could be Clayton, his 5 entities, and some fetch forms. If I've sent it as one request, that's still just one request. Obviously, if it's monthly, it's just a bit more expensive. It's $60, but for 100 requests a month. That is the pricing. Does anyone else have any questions? I think we'll wrap it up there. Hopefully the recording went well. Hopefully I didn't talk too fast. Hopefully you enjoyed today's session. Hopefully you've now got some more ideas on how you can tackle TASA and implement some better quality systems and processes for your firm, implement some great tools like Seamlss to improve that engagement process as well, and get started leveraging it all for 2025. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, no problem. Hopefully you learned a little bit about Zapier and how easy it is to set that up as well. You always... I'll slow it down for the recording for you, Wayne. Thanks, everyone. Talk soon. Thank you. Stop the recording.